what is happening, and you don't learn from the lessons of the past, you will suffer. Well, we didn't want to put any of our own, certainly in terms of the thematic material, we didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honor Tolkien by putting his messages into it.
Tyrannous reformation of the earth, our place. That is really why he hated machines. Of course, it's perfectly true. He hated the internal combustion engine for perfectly good practical reasons. I mean, noise, congestion, destruction of cities, and many people greatly agree with him now. Into a secondary world that may not be very much more pleasant, but is, at any rate, very different. And there are terrors as well as beauties in the secondary world. And why should what he offered, if it is escape, not be the escape of the prisoner, which in other contexts is regarded as a very noble thing to try to do, to get away?
There is no such thing as a natural death. Nothing that happens to man is ever natural, since his presence calls the whole world into question. All men must die, but for every man his death is an accident, and even if he knows it and consents to it, an unjustifiable violation.
The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can, pursuing it with eager feet, until it joins some larger way, where many paths and errands meet, and whether then, I cannot say.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another White Cloaks book stream with our co-host Amanda Manethrin, who I'm pretty disappointed actually with that intro going. You guys didn't get to see it. He was blowing some excellent smoke rings throughout that whole intro. Yeah, here let's maximize them here. Let's get some of those. Oh man,
where's the ship that goes through the
yeah, right. Exactly. Where's the ship? Are you still
like
you still
Gandalf,
got some
but I am not Gandalf.
You still got Tolkien's leaf there? Still got the right stuff?
I do. This is a little bit of capstan yellow, but it's still Tolkien's leaf.
Nice. So how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm in the midst of smoking some ribs for dinner. I'm getting ready to go to a friend's house after this because he's breaking up a bottle of Dalmore 15 with me. So life is not a bad thing today.
Smoking a pipe, talking about a book, not just any book, an amazing book, excellent book.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to smoke some ribs and drinking some fine aged whiskey. That sounds like worse things in the world you could be doing.
Right. Exactly.
I'm expecting my invite then. So if you just after the stream, just hit me up with the details. I'll be on my way. It's like I think like probably a solid 10-15 hour drive, but I'll be there.
You're not going to hijack the Super Stallion, Pips?
No, that would make it take longer.
he's gonna grab the white steed that we read about earlier in these first 5 chapters.
There you go. I'll just call up my boy Shadowfax.
Mm-hmm.
This was
right.
definitely a section for you, Pips. I could,
I
was reading it, I'm like, you know what? He's really gonna like this part.
Yeah, we got the Lord of Horses. He's there.
Tolkien had a bit of a tree fetish, and he definitely liked his horses too.
Well, who doesn't though? They're majestic creatures. Dane, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing good.
Doing okay.
Change my camera angle up for you guys because apparently natural light and you guys bitch. So whatever.
If we didn't have anything to bitch about, though, Dane, I mean, honestly, would life be any fun?
No, we wouldn't have a reason for existing either.
True. We should write Rafe Judkins a nice handwritten letter thanking him and just saying, no, I can't even get through it. I can't get through it even. I can't even try it. I was like,
thank you for bringing us all together in rage. No.
Yeah. Your production was so shit that I made several friends because of it.
Internationally too. We're reaching around the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
Bringing
Alex,
people of all nations together in hatred of your product. Outstanding work, sir.
There you go. That's the unification the polity needs. How are you today, Alex?
I'm doing well.
Got any games you're watching today? I see you got your team on. It sounds like nobody won our poll. Won our ladder, I guess.
No, it was not. It was a very bad NCAA tournament for brackets. So that was not good. The Iowa women beat South Carolina, massive update. So now they're in the championship. So I don't cheer for Iowa, but a lot of people around me do. So I'm just kind of like, I'm happy for you guys.
That's good. All right. Well,
don't you live in Iowa?
Yes.
Dane,
I don't pay attention to women's sports. Okay.
A sexist would say.
Sure, Vic. You watching a lot of women's cricket up there?
Yeah, I watched the WPL mainly for the Australian women who were playing.
Is that where all the talent is? The Australian women's team?
Yeah.
Yeah. Much in the way that the U.S. women's national soccer team lacks talent, and the Netherlands is one of our favorites.
For field hockey,
I think in general, but
that's
yes.
Trip is
Netherlands women's field hockey team that won gold medals. I mean, just check them out online.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's exactly the same reason that you should watch all of the women's track and field and pole vaulting videos that are weirdly in people's YouTube streams. It's like I've never clicked on one of these videos before, but apparently if you watch the thumbnail long enough, it gets into your recommended. All right, Vic, as our guest today, how are you today, sir?
I'm fine. I had a working day today, so it was Saturday for me. So didn't get much time to brush up on the Tolkien lore.
That's all right. We got a good group of people in the chat. Speaking of, we got Matt, who is going to be around. We got Gadfly Fiction, who is apparently doing some Greek translation work, which that sounds hard, I guess. I don't even have a joke to make about that. That's just good for you, sir.
It's a failed
it's all Greek to me.
We got Lady Balefire. Apparently, we're all sort of gardening implements. We got Max.
Yep, she's keeping it classy.
The Nerdporeal Lifeform here. And I think that's maybe all we got in the chat right now. We'll maybe see some other people showing up. But thanks everyone for being here. Vic, again, thanks for being on a guest. You were a guest for the final section of the Fellowship of the Ring, right? So you're kind of going back to back, which is good because it kind of flows right into it. Like the first chapter is very much, I would say, in a lot of people's minds, especially since they've seen the movies and they've seen the way that was put together, is probably a very continuous kind of story, right? It blends right into it. What do you guys have to say about what is it? The first chapter of book 3, The Departure of Boromir.
Well,
got
I got a
spoiled by
little
the
confession
movie.
to make.
Okay, Dane.
So when I first read The Lord of the Rings, my middle school library did not have a copy of Fellowship of the Ring. So I dove straight into The Two Towers the first time I read it. I had already read The Hobbit. I had a copy of The Hobbit, wanted to read some more. I bypassed Fellowship and I dove right in, and just reminded of it when basically rereading this. And I'm like, I really should have read the first book the first time, because I don't know. Like, I think in my head canon when I was 10 years old or whatever, Boromir was like a barbarian, like Conan style. And I just had a weird vision of him and super weird stuff. And then, of course, like Gandalf comes back and I'm like, I didn't even know he had fucking died the first time reading it. I was like, where did he go? What was this thing he fought? Okay, that's weird. And then, finally at Christmas time when I actually got all the books, I was like, oh, now it makes a hell of a lot more sense. But for anyone out there, don't start reading The Two Towers without first reading Fellowship.
Good point.
That's
And maybe a good point for us to remind everyone who's tuning in, this is a spoiler-filled conversation. We will be talking about these books. We'll try and keep the spoilers, as always, to the sections that we are talking about, but obviously we'll be talking about the earlier stuff as well. Dane, I got a question for you. Isn't that the same story that you have about how you started reading The Wheel of Time? That you picked it up in the middle and
No, Wheel of Time I didn't pick up in the middle. I started kind of at the proper spot. It just I had to put it down after the prologue because it was too wacky, and I picked it up later in the vacation. But
okay, there must be somebody else who we've had on.
No, it was Lord Matt. Lord Matt picked up Crossroads of Twilight.
Yep, that's
and
the
then
one.
he read the prologue
picked up at an airport, right?
Yeah, he thought this was cool. Yeah. Then he read 9 books waiting for Rotel Ituralde to show up.
Yeah.
He's like, this guy's amazing. I can't wait to read more of him. And then he's like, 9 books later, and then, oh wait, what?
I can agree. A, that is in fact the best part of Crossroads of Twilight. And B, yes, I even reading the first 8 books, I was secretly, unbeknownst to me, waiting for Rotel Ituralde to show up. He's just that much of a Chad. All right, we got Lyle Hammock here in the chat. Says that he's listening to us, so thanks for showing up as well. Yep, Max bringing out spoilers for a book published 70 years ago. Exactly that.
Never be too careful.
Hey, Lady Balefire is here in the chat, and this is her first time reading these books. So, there are some first-time readers out there. And to those people, honestly, those are the people that we were probably most happy for if they're experiencing this read with us, right? Like the first-time reader, man, who wouldn't want to be a true first-time reader reading, one of your favorite book series over again?
Yep. Wish upon a star kind of thing.
There you go. The genie gives you 3 wishes. One of those wishes is going to be, I want to forget all of these books that I've read so that I can reread them again and experience it all over again. I want to forget all the books in my bookshelf so I can read them all over again.
You don't need a genie for that. You either need a lot of whiskey or a 2x4, maybe both.
I don't know. I've tried the former and it has not worked yet. Maybe I need to step it up to the latter.
Keep trying.
Okay. All right. I think we're sidetracked here. The Departure of Boromir. Let's see. Maybe a real quick summary here. So Aragorn finds Boromir's sort of wounded body stuffed full of orc arrows. Boromir is still alive, and basically tells them like, they've taken the hobbits to Isengard, and then he dies in Aragorn's arms, sort of, right? Like he's there. Legolas and Gimli show up, and they're like, okay, some stuff went down over here, and they go through the funeral kind of stuff for Aragorn. They do some investigation work where they try and figure out what happened with Frodo and Sam, right? So they have to backtrack, and they have to kind of unpack the mystery of the missing, the one boat that's missing, the gear that was taken versus the gear that was left behind. This whole kind of process, put together the pieces of what Aragorn knew of Sam and Frodo and where they had been, and what Boromir said, right? And then they have to make the decision on whether or not they're going to follow Frodo or follow Merry and Pippin, right?
Yep.
So, I don't know. Favorite parts? Like, where do you guys want to dive into this?
So, my favorite part of this chapter is, Boromir confesses. He says, "Yeah, no, Aragorn, I fucked up badly here. This was something that I shouldn't have done, but I fell victim to the ring." And Aragorn does not share that with anybody. It's, hey, could have happened to anybody, but there's no reason to sort of shame you in your moment of death. Let the rest of the Fellowship see you as the hero you were. Remember you as the guy who gave up his life to try and save Merry and Pippin. So great bit of character work for Aragorn there. The things you don't do oftentimes is more meaningful than the things you do.
Yeah, I definitely think I can only imagine how it would have changed your reaction to Aragorn's character, right? If he had said that differently. And we actually, I think that comes back again, right? So obviously we're going out to the White Rider in today's discussion, and Gandalf actually, I think, makes an oblique comment to Aragorn and his knowledge of the death of Boromir. So I guess kind of skipping ahead there a little bit, obviously, he basically he makes a comment about the fall of Boromir and says to Aragorn that, like, you're not telling everything that you know. And it was phrased in a way that, like, I don't think anyone else would have kind of picked this up. And maybe as the reader, maybe I'm reading too much into that line, but I felt like it was Gandalf potentially having him knowing the full story and acknowledging that Aragorn, had previously kind of kept that secret. Anyway. Whew. Vic,
Gimli doesn't get to sing a song. Is anyone else kind of pissed off about that in hindsight?
So
they give a nice song to Boromir, and it's like a Legolas Aragorn duet. And Gimli's like, "Oh, great! You're gonna give me the East Wind? Yeah, I better not sing about that."
I actually, okay. What's your thoughts, Vic?
Yeah, the East Wind is basically Mordor, right? For the Gondorians, it would be like singing about Hitler in Israel.
Well said.
If Hitler, like, even worse, really, like, it'd be singing about Hitler in Israel if Hitler was still alive, like still up to no good. Like,
now I can't picture anything other than Vic and the producers.
Spare time for Hitler.
Yes. The Nerdporial brings this up, and I'm glad that he made this comment, because I feel like we had this conversation, and I think it was on his stream talking about the end of the Great Hunt, where Rand has a similar thing with Ingtar. And I think that's was potentially kind of lifted from the Aragorn and kind of Boromir, sort of thing. But I think in both cases, like it really had to be that way. Like the empathetic character, the good guy would do that. You know what I mean?
Because that's what heroes do.
Yes. Let's see. Gadfly has this comment here pointing out that the depiction of the fall of Boromir in the Peter Jackson movie was exceptional, showing the redemption of the characters. I think we talked about that during the movie a little bit, right? That the change of both putting Boromir's fall in the Fellowship of the Ring and having it depicted visually in real time to the audience versus showing the aftermath were good changes, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. On to Dane's point there. I get what you're saying, that like it would have been nice. There were 3 verses. So Aragorn started with the North Wind, Legolas got the South Wind, and then Aragorn sort of came back with actually, did I get that right? Aragorn gave the South Wind. The first one's the West Wind. All right, so he starts with the West Wind, and then Legolas goes the South Wind, and then Aragorn jumps in with the North Wind. And then, Gimli's like, sweet, his line is, "You left the East Wind to me, but I will say naught of it." I can see how maybe Gimli being given one of those kind of verses would have been kind of nice, right?
Yeah, Gimli is being too PC. Yeah, should have said something.
I'm trying to decide.
This stuff is charming, but I can understand why you wouldn't break into song in a film like this anymore. Like it always seems a little bit kind of jarring when an elf and Aragorn, they could probably do it, but I don't think Gimli would break into this type of a song, right? This is more of a drinking song.
And that's kind of what I was trying to think of how to express as well. That like I don't think that a dwarf would be as prone to song as one of the Dunedain, sort of the Blood of Numenor, or an elf who we've already gotten lots of kind of songs and things like that from the two of them. Whereas what we've gotten from Gimli is the history of the dwarven people, right? Like that's really kind of what they do.
Now, when would they have composed this song? Because like a lot of the other
freeform, man. This is
are they just spitting mad rhymes? Like
ARR. It's the same as the the fireworks from Sam. He's just
and the 8 Mile. Is that what this is?
Yep.
DJ spin that shit. Because a lot of the other poems and songs or whatever, they have an age to them, or at least it's implied by their subject matter, like that these are kind of commonly known songs. It's like, man, this is really good poetry, but were you guys paddling down the Anduin, like composing dirges for your fellow companions?
Okay,
anticipating that you weren't going to like.
So you bring up an interesting point, right? And I wonder if maybe the takeaway is actually that these are they're sort of like fill in the blank kind of things, that like that this could be a funeral song, and they're sort of filling in the Boromir the Fair, and filling in
there's a lot of deep, like they get his dad's name right, they have the place of his death right. It's like, fuck, dude, this reeks of conspiracy to me. Especially if they were composing these lyrics.
Gimli is like, what the hell are they talking about over there? And then they come and they just show him up, and he's just like, seriously, you guys are gonna do that to me?
To be honest, I mean, I think this is a result of just how ingrained Psalm is in their culture.
Yeah.
And so developing songs like this is not really a challenge or a thing. It is just something that they do, and everything that they include in there, they include what they know of the individual. It's heartfelt, it's endearing, and it leaves Boromir in a fantastic light, just as the way Aragorn was intending with it from Alex's point earlier. I just really enjoyed this song, maybe more than any of the songs that we've had so far.
Yep. Also, it's important to remember these people are better than us. Like, you know, I mean, also Legolas is
just full stop.
Based.
Legolas has been around for 3,700 years ish. Like, you figure at some point in that you might have taken a semester of is it
free-form scat?
Free-form poetry, yeah. But no,
Mirkwood, you rules.
Yeah, but no, to an extent, I think Nathan makes an excellent point. And just to sort of add on to it, you know, the sort of Psalms is their culture, and to take it an even greater extent, these are sort of the champions of their culture. These are the people that should be sort of the best at it. So, oh no, they turned the internet off in India. China's cool.
Might have lost him. We'll see if he comes back in. But hey, thanks for joining us in the chat here. Yes, a shame he died. I feel like he had to, like, especially if you're gonna bring Gandalf back.
Yep.
They have to have stakes. And so with Gandalf coming back, like, somebody had to eat it, you know? And there's a lot of goodness in the way that his death goes down, like we're talking about. Yeah,
well, and this also helps feed into the madness of Denethor when we eventually make it to Minas Tirith. If Boromir's still alive, there's a foundation that I think, knowing that his line was still there, that it provides Denethor for some basis of sanity. But when Boromir's gone, Denethor is just as gone.
Yeah. Yep. Vic, how's the internet over there in India?
Yeah, I think I pressed the close tab button on my keyboard.
You didn't have to admit to that. You could have totally said it was the internet's fault.
Now, one thing, but I mean, we could save this for later, and we probably should. But when you introduce the character of Faramir, that in and of itself, that's always been a good compare and contrast between his brother and Boromir and him, and just how one was able to basically resist the temptation of the ring. So, in our estimation, probably a stronger character, but not in the father. Although I think the film hypes that up a little bit more than the books do. But let's save any discussion for Faramir until we get there, which is, I think, book 2 of Two Towers.
Yeah. So the argument here is saying that we knew the stakes because of kind of Bilbo's, you know, possessive nature and the way that Bilbo acts, all that stuff. I think, you know, we established some of the stakes with that, right? But we also, Bilbo is honestly almost I feel like he actually lowers the danger of the ring, right? Because he had it for what, like 90 years or something like that.
50,
like, you know,
60.
It was only 50 or 60.
Yeah,
111. He was 50. He was like 50.
Yeah,
okay.
He was 60 when he set out.
Yeah. Okay. So 50 or 60 years. Still, he had it for a really long time. Yep. And like the worst he got was like he was a little bit overly possessive of it, but was able to give it up with, you know, some cajoling, but was able to, and never turned into a wraith, never turned into Dark Lord Bilbo, you know. And part of that is he didn't know what he had. Part of that is, you know, the goodness of hobbits and all this other stuff.
Bilbo had everything he wanted. He had like the sweetest fucking bachelor pad high up on the hill. Everybody liked
rub
the ring.
Had Spee's nose in it.
He was rich. He was loaded. He probably had like Hobbit checks up the wazoo. Who knew? There was nothing the ring could offer him, right?
Yep. I also think, to an extent, stakes aren't a one-time thing. Stakes are something that, once you build it, you have to maintain it. If you write a 7-book series and somebody dies in book 1, that doesn't cover you to the end of the series. You have to continually, keep people on the edge, on that sense of danger. To an extent, I think Bilbo does, sort of set the stakes when it shows that, the ring does drive you nuts, but you gotta keep doing it. And that's something that I think in this series they do, especially towards the end, with how much Frodo starts to really be hurting, and how much he really struggles with it. So, to an extent, good comment, but building on top of it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most fair way to put it. Is that they both played their part, but yeah, you had to continue it, right? So, all right. So they decide to follow the hobbits that want to be followed, I guess, is the best way we can put that, right? That they figure out that Frodo went. They figured out that he took Sam with him, and basically decide that after sending Boromir on his way over the falls, that they have to go after Merry and Pippin. No real comment from me. I think it was,
other than the fact that you have 20 other orc swords laying in the boat with him to show what a chat he is.
I did love the very sort of Viking kind of funeral that they gave to Boromir with all of the helms and swords beneath his feet, and not just like piled in the boat, but like specifically like beneath his feet, and like he his broken sword and the horn kind of in his hands.
Shout out to the elven boat makers. They loaded like 115 pounds of swords at the very end of the boat. Apparently, it was just fine.
They're unsinkable, aren't they? No.
Yep. Elite boat makers.
They've been doing it for like 4,000 years, man. Like they figured some stuff out.
Yeah. PhDs in naval architecture. So one of I guess I prefer the movie version of this scene, or the entire Boromir segment. But one line that really irritated me in the, or not really irritated me, but it stuck out to me in the movies, was the "Let's hunt some orcs" line. Just because it's a very different vibe than this scene in the books. And Aragorn gives a great line about, band together, save Merry and Pippin, but it's downright poetic. And I apologize, I've been doing the audiobook, so I don't have it in front of me, but I did want to call out sort of that specific, strong deviation from the movies.
I think I have the section here that you're probably thinking of. So basically, Gimli says, they send him over the falls, right? And Gimli says, our choice then is either to take the remaining boat and follow Frodo, or else follow the orcs on foot. There is little hope either way. We have already lost precious hours. Aragorn replies, so let me think then. And now may I make a right choice and change the evil fate of this unhappy day. He stood silent for a moment. I will follow the orcs, he said at last. I would have guided Frodo to Mordor and gone with him to the end. But if I seek him now in the wilderness, I must abandon the captives to torment and death. My heart speaks clearly at last. The fate of the bearer is in my hands no longer. The company has played its part, yet we that remain cannot forsake our companions while we have strength left. Come, we will go now. Leave all that can be spared behind. We will press on by day and dark. And that's not a whole lot of dialogue. That would have been, a 1-minute scene, and you would have been like, all right, there's some freaking leadership there's some hard decisions being made. I'll throw out maybe, and what do you guys think of this? Because they moved that to the end of Fellowship, because like this line is a start of the quest line, right? Like we're embarking on this thing. I'm setting it out. We're laying down what we're about to go embark on, and because they put it at the end of the movie, like it would have. I feel like it might have been out of place.
So, what I'll say, what I'm getting more out of the books than out of the movie, is the ring poses a danger because it's corrupting the Fellowship. But really, you only see that in Boromir. Boromir is the only one where it manifests. You never really get a visual or get a sense that it's affecting Legolas or Gimli at all. It doesn't seem to be affecting the hobbits. Aragorn is able to hold back from it. And Gandalf had his kind of earlier scene where he says, don't tempt me, Frodo, because, you know, he fears the ring. So it kind of singles out Boromir as the one failure, which I think is a little bit unfair. But what becomes a hell of a lot clearer when the Fellowship breaks up is that it couldn't have gone another way. If Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas started chasing after Frodo, what would have been the situation when they get past the Emyn Muir, when they get to the Mountains of Mordor? Would the ring have succeeded in corrupting Gimli, for example? So I'm getting more of a sense, okay, the Fellowship was always kind of going to fail. Good, they've resisted temptation, but this is kind of where the story has to go. Whereas maybe in the movie, all you really get a sense is that, okay, Boromir had his weakness, he redeemed himself, and now adventure time, it's an action movie, let's go hunt some orcs.
Yeah, I think Aragorn believes he won't be able to resist the ring another time.
Mm-hmm.
As the situation gets more desperate, he'll start thinking more like Boromir.
Yeah, that's why that passage that you read, Pips, he starts off with, "May I make the right choice." I mean, he is absolutely chock full of this foreboding sense of failure since Gandalf died, always thinking that he's making the wrong decisions. And I think actually what Alex may have been referencing was the second to last paragraph of the chapter when Aragorn says, "We shall need all the endurance of the dwarves, but come without hope or with hope or without hope, we will follow the trail of our enemies, and woe to them if we prove the swifter. We will make such a chase as shall be accounted a marvel among the three kindreds, elves, dwarves, and men. Forth the three hunters."
Yep,
that language is a lot better than "let's hunt some orc." Huzzah!
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yes.
The fact that you can pull out any one of like 10 like S tier paragraphs from this section is just really indicative of how fucking phenomenal this run is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I guess Gadfly points out that that line was spoken directly to Frodo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, changes a little bit, right? So again, I was kind of stretching for trying to figure out how I felt about that line. I get what Alex is saying, that like it's not very Tolkien-esque, I guess, the "let's hunt some orcs." But and I think Lyle maybe put this in the chat, that like he didn't have any issue with that line. I don't think I ever really had any issue with the line either. Like where it falls, you know, it was never something.
It's
that
slightly
really
anachronistic, though. I mean,
yeah,
it is slightly anachronistic,
a little
but
it ages down Aragorn a bit in terms of maturity. Like, let's hunt some more.
Yeah, let's hunt some more. So then he pulls Indiana Jones whip out, grabs a branch, and they swing off. Rather than you know, we're about to run, you know, 6 marathons in a row in 3 days.
Throw me the whip.
And Lord have mercy on the Uruk-hai if we fucking find them, because we're gonna fuck them up.
Yeah.
And why is Saruman so obvious? Why does he sign his name on each of the orcs? Like S on everyone.
I mean, branding, merchandising, like, I mean, you're
Spaceballs, merchandising.
Exactly.
Merchandising.
It takes them like 2 seconds to figure out who's the culprit.
I actually do think that there's a reason for that. I think it does have to do with his control over the hordes. But you make an excellent point, though, man. Thank God there's a giant white S on each of these guys. Like, it'd be really rough if there wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Would the story have actually changed if they didn't have an S on them?
Yeah,
because
I think
they were following the tracks, right? And they would have figured out.
You needed to give some kind of clue to Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas that Merry and Pippin were being taken probably to somewhere not getting eaten by orcs, right? They had to have a reason to follow. So if it was just a random orc tribe, then you'd be like, oh man, it's too bad. Those hobbits are total goners. We should go after Frodo.
Because at least he's probably still alive. But I was distracted by the sickest smoke rings I've ever seen coming out of Nathan. But no, I think you could get around that if you just have Boromir say, they've taken them and they're running away with them. I don't know why they didn't just kill them, but they're gone. But
so I think that's in there though. Boromir's statement. Yeah. So they have gone, the halflings, the orcs have taken them. I think they are not dead. Orcs bound them. So they were clearly captives, right? Yeah,
but captives for the barbecue or not, right?
Either way, though, I don't think that would have changed the calculation for the group, right? If there was still a chance that they were alive, right? And the whole idea, we can't, while we still have strength, we can't list them or leave them to suffering and death was kind of the line, right? So
yeah. But I think it's cleverly done in the story how it steadily builds up where the characters are actually reasoning through what's going on. So they got it. They obviously haven't seen a white S on an orc before. The orcs that they mention, I think they're Uruks, so they look kind of different.
They are, yeah.
Because Saruman's been breeding them, but it's just it's a revelation of them being I don't believe he's fallen this fast. Isengard is now a separate power, and oh my gosh, Saruman wants the ring for himself. And could you imagine how pissed off Sauron will be if Saruman does get the ring? Because Saruman's a higher being as well, right? So if Saruman got a hold of the Ring of Power, would he actually be in a position to challenge Sauron?
No, I think the ring would have betrayed him at some point.
I mean, Sauron clearly believes that and Gandalf says this in the chapter about the White Rider, that Sauron's fear is that the armies are going to be massing in Minas Tirith, coming to throw him down and replace him with themselves, right? So he clearly fears that somebody of sufficient ability could take the ring, and specifically fears Saruman might be attempting this, right? That's a specific fear that he has. And I know Galadriel implies pretty strongly that that's what would happen if she took the ring. Gandalf says pretty straightforward that yep, if he was to take the ring, that he would have become a new Dark Lord himself. What he says to Frodo or to I don't remember if it was to Bilbo or Frodo, whichever one of them. He was like, no,
yeah, he would be.
Don't let me touch it.
He would be wise and terrible.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that. I don't know. I still want to say that I don't think it was necessary for us to know that the orcs were from Saruman. I think, though, that it clearly is a good thing for us to know that the orcs were from Saruman. And so I think that it was put in there with the intent of improving kind of the audience's understanding of what was happening. I don't think that it would have actually changed what happened plot-wise if they didn't have a big S on their chest. But I think the comment somebody said, Saruman's hubris So it's, if anything, more than informing Aragorn and the company that these are Saruman's orcs, because we learned that from another POV chapter anyway, right? I think that it actually informs us more about Saruman's sort of psyche, learning his hubris, learning that he intends to set himself as a rival to the Black Tower, right? To Sauron, because that's really what he's doing. He's marking orcs and uruks as his own, right? Because the orcs from Mordor have what, the black eye is their sigil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the white hand versus the black eye. I thought that was the. Anyway. Do we want to talk any more about this one, or do we want to move on to Riders of Rohan?
No, let's do Riders of Rohan.
Aha! Hey, Fitzy's making an appearance. Say hi, Fitzy. There we go. Now we just our subscribers are gonna multiply. Now we had a dog on the channel.
Exactly. He might bark. I ran out of dog treats, and he thinks he's owed one around right about now. So I'm gonna have to go to the grocery store, but he doesn't know that.
That's yeah, that makes sense.
He's just gonna bite your finger off.
No, he doesn't have teeth.
Matt, on that last point, Matt brings up that the ring does desire to return to Sauron, would find a way to betray them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it has
his
his essence in it. So even if they were ever to defeat Sauron again, he would still continue on. I mean, there's an eternality with him as long as the ring is in existence.
So here's my thought on the problem of that, I guess, is that if that were the case, Sauron should like almost not even really be looking for the ring. He should just like yeah, dude, set yourself up as a Dark Lord. Even come fight me, like strike me down. You'll make me more powerful than you can even imagine, right? Like find the ring, and even if it takes me another turning of the wheel to sort of reconstitute myself back in Mirkwood and do all this other stuff, right?
Wow.
How many franchises are you gonna fucking
as many as I can fit into it, Dane? Shut up.
Obi-Wan, like, Sauron.
He's fucking Sauron clearly fears what someone else could do with the ring, and is sure that that's what people are going to try and do, right? And we get from Gandalf that he's going to try and strike a blow before it can happen, because he thinks that the armies of men plus the ring is a threat to him.
Well, maybe he's not fearing for himself, but he obviously spent a whole shit ton of time getting Mordor in proper working condition, right? If that tower falls down, or his orc army
nice
gets
tower
destroyed.
You got there, Sauron. It'd be terrible.
Yeah, shame if something happens to it. If only I got my ring back, I wouldn't have to go through this. I don't know.
So this is Kenny is basically saying what I kind of feel like. That you know, Gandalf, Galadriel, that there are a few beings who.
Yeah, you got to be level 90 or higher, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, 90 in smithing? Because all I got to do is I got to spam those daggers, and I can make my dragon bone armor like nobody's business.
And then crit for over 9,000.
Fuck yeah!
All right, how many franchises are you guys going to bring into this? Okay, the Riders of Rohan, Chapter 2, guys.
Funniest scene in the entire franchise coming up right here.
Wait, what?
The funniest scene is...
We're going to have to revisit whether or not Gimli was a simp or a Chad, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
All right. So Riders of Rohan, they're following the trail of the orcs. They find some clues. They think the hobbits are alive and getting kind of dragged along this. And they run into Éomer, right? Éomer. And Éomer is like, Yep. Hey, sorry guys. The people you're chasing, probably not as big of a hurry as you think it is. But they're like, no, we're gonna keep going, and it basically ends. Where does it end? Does it end with them setting camp?
Yeah, they get free horses.
That's where it ends. But I mean, there's a whole stretch of them on the chase, whether or not they should run through the night or not. They're working out more details about where the orcs could be going and how they'll catch up.
And there is some racism thrown in from Mayor.
True.
There's also a wee bit of racism from Gimli when he's just like, "Bro, I am a dwarf.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make me run 50 miles a day."
Okay, the end point is they make camp, and it's actually where they meet, where they see a glimpse of an old man, and their horses run off. Right? The horses disappear in the middle of the night. So that's where it ends. Okay.
Yeah, you're skipping through a lot there, Pips.
No, I'm just doing the overall, like, where's the chapter start and end? And
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I mean, what do you guys want to talk through here as we go through it?
Legolas should have led the team.
Legolas what?
Legolas should have been the leader of the team. Like, he can see the farthest.
Yeah.
He's the best scout.
Funniest
taking
part
the hobbits to Isengard.
This trilogy is definitely Aragorn, like, busting his ass, doing everything he can to find the hobbits. Like, he's got his ear pressed to the ground. He does this like 4 or 5 times, and then he pops up once and he goes, "Riders are coming towards us. They're moving quickly." Legolas goes, "Yep. There's 105 of them. They're all blonde. They have shiny spears, and the leader is tall."
Yep. Yes.
I just have to imagine Aragorn just looking at him like, "Oh, wait, why was I on the ground if you knew this?"
Oh.
I don't know whose that is. Let's see.
I don't think it's me.
All right. So somebody got a text message, and their microphone is getting pissed off at them. Yeah. There you go. Lady B, Aragorn's listening to the wind, and Legolas is like, "Why are you making this so hard? Just look." It's so simple.
What's funny about this is, I think at one point they did somebody did the math, and they concluded that Legolas's elves' vision isn't affected by the curvature of the Earth. So much in the way that they don't condense down on snow, their vision also isn't affected by the curvature of the Earth.
Perception 100.
Yeah, which is a bizarre talent to have, but yes.
First of all, the alleged curvature of the Earth, right?
Don't even start.
It's a fictional world, and it is canonically round.
As kind of a funny side note there, right? Is my recollection correct that, like, at a certain point, like, all of the created world was, like, completely reformed and reshaped, and, like,
yes.
So Valinor was, like, removed and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it used to be
when men tried to get into Valinor, they just eat it out of there, and there's now an ocean.
I think Alex said, when I was trying to remember whether or not that was the case, that, like, it was originally flat and then got turned into a globe, right? Is that
Yes.
canonically correct? Am I remembering that properly?
Correct. The Valar were not happy with basically the behavior of all of the children on the planet, and so they decided that they were just going to drown a whole bunch of them. So Numenor got drowned, and then Barrelane got drowned, and then the rest of it got spherified.
Nice, spherified. That's perfect.
Sure.
So there we go. Do we think that is Elven vision? It predated the sort of rounding of the earth, and so just like time doesn't pass in Karaskalathon, there's just
the creator forgot to nerf their eyesight.
Yep.
Perfect. That's the explanation. There was an incomplete software patch, and Elven Vision was still operating on the flat Earth model.
The blue screen of death.
Good. This is why you guys come here, for us to figure out the deep mysteries of Elven flat Earth vision.
15 leagues. Is that that's about 45 miles away?
Yep.
And you can see that there's 105 of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the line here. Yeah, Gimli constantly complaining. So they moved forward a line from the very end of the previous chapter where Gimli's like, dwarves can go swiftly and they don't sooner tire than orcs, but it is a long chase. And then he starts getting tired, and they turned that into the line in the movie that like dwarves are
natural sprinters, very dangerous over short distances. I thought that was good. But what I do like,
it's similar to Let's Hunt Some Orcs, right? Like,
so
it's just like meat's back on the menu.
It always struck me a little bit odd that in the film, at least, Éomer is very antagonistic towards our three heroes when they meet up.
Mm-hmm.
Here, at least, they provide an excuse for it because they mention that they were in Lothlorien, and then Éomer has to run his mouth, right? Yep. There is a lady in the Golden Wood, as old tales tell. He said, "Few escape her nets, they say. They're strange days, but if you have her favor, then you are also net weavers and sorcerers, maybe." And then Gimli basically stands up and he's like, okay, when he knows who Éomer is, let Gimli the dwarf, Gloin's son, warn you against foolish words. You speak evil of that which is fair beyond the reach of your thought, and only little wit can excuse you. So Gimli is still going hard, and Celeborn's fucking nowhere.
The whitest of white knights.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, Gimli is I don't know. Are you simping now? Are you still Chad? You're picking a fight with a guy who's taller than you and has 104 companions, because he said something just a little bit mean about your girl.
Hey, maybe in Gimli's mind, he already won Galadriel. Like he already she's mine now. And just like, any husband's not going to let someone talk shit about his wife, even if the wife's not around, right? So Gimli's like, yo, cool your jets. That's my property over there. Maybe he's gone beyond even Chad. He's the.
Well, it is an interesting thing to think. Like, is he trying to display some notion of chivalry? Like, I mean, a lot of fantasy letter, whatever, harkens back to medieval times or whatnot. But
yeah,
there's got to be some notion of courtly love, or at least the example of that. Chrétien de Troyes, Arthurian legend, all that type of stuff. Is it best exemplified by Gimli, son of Gloin, and his infatuation with Galadriel, sorceress of the Golden Wood?
I think it's a brilliant example, and if you look at sort of some of the inspiration for this, you can undoubtedly make that case. But I didn't realize Éomer is such a dumbass in this book. Like, they're like, yeah, so we were chasing a couple hobbits, and he was like, "Don't lie to me, hobbits aren't real." Like,
I mean, later we have Aragorn being like, "Wait, Ents are real?" And Legolas is like, "Yeah, bro, Ents are real." Alex, I think your mic is doing that squeal again. It stopped. All right.
But yeah, so Eomer is basically just a dumbass border patrol agent at this point, just giving people shit.
Hey, he's the third marshal of the Riddermark. It's ma'am.
Interestingly, about that in the films, most of the riders of Rohan were women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're like, hey, we need a bunch of equestrian extras, like, who are you going to get?
And they gave them beards, too. So, anyways. Good behind-the-scenes footage of Viggo Mortensen macking on some bearded ladies.
Hollywood is weird, man.
We learn that Shadowfax made his way back down to the Mark. We learn that that the Rohirrim are not paying tribute to Sauron, and that they are arranged against Saruman as well. We learn that Theoden King is not necessarily up to his old standards. That everything is not well in Edoras. And then there's the whole thing with basically Aragorn saying, like, all right, cool, we said who we are and what we're doing, and we're on our way, and you're telling us about the laws that we have to go to Edoras if we want to travel through the Mark and all this stuff. And I'm basically telling you that either you can get in our way and we can have a fight, you and your 105 against the three of us, or you can let us go. Your call. And Éomer is like,
here's some horses.
But there's a great scene where he reveals himself, right? He pulls out his sword and is like, slaps it down on the table. I kind of wish that we had gotten that in their meeting, but obviously he doesn't have Narsil in the movie.
Yep. That they also have in this one that they had in the movie where Éomer says, if I let you go, my life is forfeit. And then Aragorn goes, that's like and then in the books, Aragorn goes, that's stupid. I don't think that's how the law works. Like, nobody would expect that of you. But yeah, anyway, here's your horses, guys. Have fun. And also, I'm fascinated. Like, who does Éomer think is going to prosecute him for the charge of letting prisoners go? Like, all of the other 104 boys on this group seem fairly committed to the cause, if you will.
No, there's snitches in there, man. You can't be too.
There's the one guy who's like, I don't think anybody's going to say anything, but there's that one asshole that might.
Yeah.
You can always find a district attorney in New York City.
Yeah.
But Dreamer speaking a lot of sense back home.
Oh man. Fantastic.
Dreamer tells it like it is.
Hey man, I would never expect an indictment to come down on something like that, but who can really say what's motivating Creamer's district attorney at this point?
Yeah, exactly. All right, they get the three horses. They're going on,
and then they lose them really quickly.
Yeah, which is like, what happened to them? Were those horses extras on the Rings of Power season 2 set? Like, what? Like, what happened with those? I shouldn't be making horses or making dead horse jokes. But hey, I feel like if anyone's allowed to, okay. I am.
You can do that because you're a horse.
Yeah, those are my jokes. What do you mean, you people?
Just so long as you don't start beating dead horses. Huh? Figuratively or not.
Yeah, allegedly. Okay. I'm trying to find the part where like they set up their camp, right? And they're like, "Yep, tomorrow we gotta keep going on." And there's Legolas is like, there's an old man who I'm just imagining, sort of like the old man from Family Guy, just kind of creeping around the outside of their camp, I guess.
What, Herbert the pervert?
Yeah.
Oh, hey there.
Hi, Kyle.
Strong, muscly boy. Oh, God.
All right, so Aragorn and Legolas are roused by his sudden movement, right? So Gimli sprang up. They see this old man. The two of them get up. The old man doesn't speak or make a sign. Aragorn talks to him. It's like, hey, come over to our fire. And then all of a sudden, the old man disappeared, and the horses were gone. Right.
Mm.
And there's this line about the horses whinnying and neighing and stuff like that. And they talk about it the next day, about how like it was not whinnying in fear. It was whinnying like they were meeting a long forgotten friend or something like that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think? What happened to these horses? Because we see two of them again, but not three. So is it like Shadowfax came up and grabbed two, and the other one legitimately was on the race power set? Like what happened to the third horse? That's the mystery.
I think they only took
Shadowfax
two because Gimli refused one.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
only
He was
had
going
the
to
two.
ride with Legolas.
Shadowfax took him to the shack and did his business.
Am I crazy?
Couldn't go on. Was too exhausted.
Shadowfax, you stud.
Somehow in my mind they had three, but now I remember what you're saying. Like, hey, yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna ride.
Half the rewatch was a horse watch. I don't think we're allowed to turn Lord of the Rings into a horse watch either, bud.
Yeah, you guys are 100% right though. I somehow reading through it I missed it, but there is the line where it's not like Gimli's like, I don't want to ride, and Aragorn's like, well, you have to ride, otherwise you'll slow us down. But then Legolas has the line, come, you can sit behind me. So like, I'll put you out behind me here and take you along. So okay, only two horses.
You can hold on to my waist.
I apologize that maybe I wanted there to be a third horse. I don't know.
Yep.
Anything we haven't covered in this chapter, you guys think?
I don't think so.
I feel like it would have been nice to maybe see the effect of the elven cloaks in the movie in this scene as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, he like stands up on the rock outcropping and says like, what news is there from the Mark, Riders of Rohan, and they all which is basically a line from here. He's from the north instead of the Mark, right? But they didn't get the scene where like they're sitting there just like, we'll just wait here for them to come to us, and they totally ride right past them.
Hey, dumbasses, get back here.
Yeah.
Worst border patrol agents ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only time that you ever see the cloaks in the classic operation is with Frodo and Sam at the base of the hill in front of the Black Gate, and
yeah,
I was kind of disappointed that they should have just been standing out there in the field, and you could have done like a little point of view from the riders to show that they don't see anything, and then quickly cut back to a point of view of Aragorn and the rest of them where they're standing in the middle of them, and still convey that same type of camo.
Yeah, I think that would have been twice the amount of work. You have to shoot a scene with them riding towards the party, and then you have to film the riders POV from one of the riders and hiding another camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was before GoPros.
I don't know that the other POV would have been necessary, right? Because Éomer makes a lot like comments about their cloaks when he walks up to them, right? So like,
Yeah.
I think it could have been implied through the conversation, and if they had just in the scene, if they had just shown, you know, them sort of wrapped with their cloaks around them a little bit, and the horses maybe not like so comical, right? If they'd done the scene from the books, they would have had to, I think, do what you're doing, where like just like they did with the gates, the black gates, where we see like the rock from the outside, right? Or am I crazy here? That rock scene is actually in the Two Towers movie as well, right? So, and about the same time, because of the way that they jump back and forth. Maybe no, it's later in the movie. Okay, so you couldn't really have done that scene first. Maybe. Either way. All right, let's talk more about the books and move on. we're up to the Uruk-hai. So the Merry and Pippin sort of POV chapter, right? It kind of backtracks a little bit in time to start out with, and it's basically Merry and Pippin being initially waking, right, and being drug along. We get the sort of internal political turmoil between Ugluk, the chief Uruk-hai from Saruman, and Grishnach from Mordor, right? Who is sort of a comically described orc with like super long arms and like kind of a big belly, if I remember correctly. They take the hobbits. There's a fight a little bit over what's going on with them. Some of Grishnach's orcs get killed in the fight by the Uruks. And then it kind of goes on all the way up to the actual engagement between the Riders of Rohan that was described in the previous chapter a little bit, right? To the actual escape of the hobbits towards Fangorn Forest, right? And we basically learn that all of the orcs and Uruk-hai got killed from sort of the other perspective. So
Pippin's showing himself to be really becoming into his own and looking for opportunities for trackers to be able to see what's going on by separating himself, not just dropping the little brooch, but actually going outside of the struggle so that he can leave some hobbit tracks that might not be trampled over, and then dropping the brooch. Comparing that to, throwing the pebble down the rock face and stuff like that, he's kind of starting to grow as a character and looking for these types of things so that he can still fight to survive. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, he's the shortest hobbit, I think, still. Aragorn comments that this must be Pippin's footprints because they are quite small as compared to the others.
Yeah, he hasn't had the Ent draft yet.
It's coming up. I just
they
have
did a
to
good job with that movie.
These orcs are incredibly well spoken, and I guess there's no way around that because it is Tolkien writing. But yeah, would I have liked it if he put in the writing kind of how people often kind of write monsters and how they speak with kind of like bad English or conjoined words or slang or whatnot. Probably wouldn't have liked it as much, but no, I got a new respect for these orcs. They probably speak better English than most of us.
We would have had a new black speech chapter, black speech paragraph.
Yeah. Well, these ones went to Eton instead of Oxford.
Yep. Yeah. And what is the joke? A writer can never write a character as smarter than they are. Like, Tolkien has the opposite problem. Like he's too bright. He can't write a dumb enough character because he can't just put himself in that mind space.
That's right. He can't condescend.
So
He cannot
I get what you
become
guys
simple
are saying.
Jack.
I get what you guys are saying. I would like to, kind of play devil's advocate here a little bit. I think that there's actually a real value to the story of having the orcs speak like really good sort of, common tongue, kind of the queen's, or I suppose now the king's English,
Fucking bilingual
because too. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it sets up the idea that the orcs are not dumb, right? Yeah. Like the opposite of that, that orcs are actually intelligent beings that were morally corrupted, not faculty corrupted, if that makes sense. And I don't know, some of the people that are deeper on the Tolkien lore in the chat might be able to tell me if I'm sort of out on a branch here, but I feel like that's consistent with what I understand is kind of his purpose in writing them. I know that it's kind of a conversation that he was conflicted about writing beings that were irredeemably evil, right? Mm-hmm. And so giving them reason and faculties kind of equal to the other races gives them sort of a path to potentially, attain some sort of redemption, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, the orcs were created from elves that were corrupted by Morgoths in the first age. Mm-hmm. Sorry, in the second age, maybe. First age, yeah.
That is a topic that we do not have time to get into here, because there were there were. It was kind of recanted in a way because he felt like elves have a soul. And nothing with a soul can be entirely evil and uncorruptible. So he did kind of walk back the orcs are elves thing, but it's a theological discussion rather than a Anyway, off topic. But no,
I think Mags. I think Mags is also making kind of more succinctly than I've made the point here that potentially a good reminder to the reader that evil it has the capacity to be intelligent and cunning, and that we shouldn't expect evil and sort of adversaries to be dumb. We should also look for them to be cunning and intelligent.
And the other caveat I should add, so these are well-spoken orcs, but maybe that's just because our language has devolved since Tolkien's day. Because, he does use words like, but unless you've got some guts for fighting, you've taken the wrong way. Like, that's a line from an orc. But other people don't necessarily use words like guts or maggots and white skins. And so maybe he's actively trying to sound like, hey, I was
the horse breeders.
I was on the docks once and I heard a longshoreman speak, and that's where I'm, taking my English from. But it's just our common vernacular is just basically degenerated to the point where we listen to the orcs from Tolkien and be like, this guy sounds like he maybe didn't go to Cambridge, but he definitely went to the London School of Economics.
Right. Shit, man, those would be the three most coherent sentences spoken in Wheel of Prime.
The standards have really fallen at Barad-dûr Academy.
Piss in my mouth and tell me it's raining.
Let in one DEI consultant, and there goes the whole neighborhood.
You let in one Southron.
Okay.
Fucking folliculophilia, Nathan. God damn it.
What did you guys think of the insight on how the orcs and uruks view the Nazgul?
They're just like, ooh, you got a cool Nazgul, that's sweet. And then the other one's like, great, but he's not gonna come over here, so what's your fucking point? Like, keep it moving.
Well, I thought that it was interesting that Ugluk, so the Uruks, look at the Urukai, look at the Nazgul as like, yeah, they're not that impressive. I heard one had his mount shot out from underneath him, idiot. And then if you'd brought him along, maybe that'd be useful if they're as good as you make them out to be. Like, it's like basically, I heard your boss is a bitch. I don't know.
One day you'll wish that you had not said that, ape. Yeah, yeah. Tolkien overheard a longshoreman once. That's kind of where I'm reading this.
All right, I think maybe that's probably better than my attempt to sort of elevate the purpose behind their eloquence, and maybe they're not actually that eloquent. They're over here talking sort of what year was this published in? Like 1965. There we go. Or actually, no, never mind. That's just this one's copyrighted. Thanks.
Yeah. 54.
So
that's right.
Yeah, 54. So maybe that was just 1954 sort of uneducated speech, and we're over here doing TikToks and putting in numbers in place of spelling words.
Oh. I'm really missing the emojis in this story.
Right. Well, to an extent, I also think it gives sort of an interesting look into Orcish culture in the sense of, yes, they're intelligent, but they just kind of like fighting. They don't need to speak intelligently all the time. Like, if we were assholes, we could talk about like, oh, this is symbolism. The good guys are the races uniting and coming together, whereas the orcs are, divided and fractured, and they have all of this infighting, even though they're the same species between their societies. But nobody wants to talk like that because that's fucking lame. Like, let's make jokes about the orcs talking shit to each other. So, in many ways, that's almost how I view this. Like, they're capable of, having these sort of philosophical thoughts, but they like stabbing and fighting because that's more fun to them. So that's just what they do.
Yep. I think that's a good point. Okay. The group finally gets surrounded, right? The Rohirrim surround them. They set up a bunch of torches, big bonfires, watchfires, and they're waiting out the night to attack them at dawn. Is essentially what's going to go on, right? And the orcs know this, but they're not able to break out because the riders are staying out of sight and will shoot anyone down with bow shot if they try and break out, and they'll run them down if they try to. But this presents the opportunity for our hobbits to escape, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Pippin having his arms free, right? Am I remembering that right? Was it Pippin who had his arms free before?
He impersonates Gollum, I think, for a bit.
He does. He tries to get Grishnak to think that he knows a little more than he does. Maybe that he has more than he has. I suppose is actually what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty smart. It was.
It's also interesting how the Ugluk knows they're fucked. The orc comes to him and is like, "Yeah, no, we went scouting. We didn't see anybody. We only saw one guy on a horse, but he ran away real quick." And you didn't shoot him? You've killed us all, you fucking morons! Like, the one guy on the horse is going to go get more guys on horses, and so we're gonna die.
Yeah. That was, I think, the line about the horse breeders.
Yep.
Yeah. And here they are, horsemen encircled, but it's all right because Merry and Pippin, they got Grishnak killed, and then they had some limba spread, and they munched on some of that. They sneak their way out, and they make it into Fangorn, right?
Yeah.
They're a little concerned about Fangorn because of what they had heard about the forest, but they get driven deeper into the forest, right? Because of what Mary says. So they're looking out on the battle, essentially. They're seeing everybody all of the orcs get broken and ridden down and killed. But then there's a group of them that is coming straight towards the forest, basically straight where they are. And Mary's like, "Oh shit, it's Ugluk. he's coming back for us." And so they kind of run on deeper into the forest. And because they turned, they didn't see that the Rohirrim actually did catch them, ran them down, and overran the group. And then apparently Éomer got off his horse and fought Ugluk sword to sword, like you do.
Yep.
It's
Right?
it's the only sporting way to deal with it, obviously.
Yeah, I know. Hey, we've killed all your people, but you and me, champion v champion. Like, let's have this out.
Well, you did say earlier that he's not super bright. Anything else to say about this chapter from you guys? I thought that it was a really good chapter from the insights that we got into orcs and Saruman and Sauron and a lot of that stuff. But
Pippin.
It's a good Pippin chapter.
Full and Grishnak
Yep.
all over the place and taking
And
for a ride.
yeah.
Some good self-reference in it too. Like, you seem to have been doing very well, Master Took said. Mary, you might get almost a chapter in old Bilbo's book, if ever.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yep.
That's a high praise.
Yep. Yeah.
Also, wow.
I love it. I
Good
love
man.
it though. Like, for a moment, Pippin was silent. Then suddenly, in the darkness, he made a noise in his throat. Gulm, gulm. Nothing, my precious, he added. And the Grishnok's fingers twitch. Oh ho, hissed the goblin softly. That's what he means, is it? Oh, very dangerous, my little ones. Perhaps, said Mary, picking up on what Pippin was laying down. I love it. Just like, you know what?
Yeah.
We're going to toy with you, even though you could clearly destroy the both of us right now. It's just it's bravery in the midst of imminent threat.
Right. Achilles has to fight Hector
I think
outside
it's
the
fair.
walls.
Yeah. All right. Treebeard into Fangorn, because as we learn later, right, Treebeard is just Fangorn sort of rendered into the common tongue, right? There's a whole thing to be said about the Antwives probably in this chapter, but I think maybe we avoid the broader conversation about the Entwives, and just say, cool, Merry and Pippin, they meet Treebeard, they have an Entmoot, and they decide that a thing that has not happened in a long, long time is going to happen. The Ents are going to war, right? And along the way, I think Merry and Pippin drink some magic water. I don't think we don't really learn the effects of them drinking the water at this point. That's not until later, right? But you get the foreshadowing about they're drinking the water and they feel it all the way, like from the soles of their feet all the way up into their hair, and they feel like their hair is kind of like standing on end almost, which is, later you realize, oh, that's because they were literally growing taller drinking the water. And we get some lines about hastiness, which is how Robert Jordan modeled some Ogier after cements. What do you guys have about this chapter, Fangorn? Or sorry, Treebeard, not Fangorn.
Yeah, I like how Treebeard asks them. So where are you going to stand up to go to sleep? And they're just very confused. They're like, we sleep laying down. And he's like, oh, interesting. That's weird. And then goes outside and just stands there in the rain and is perfectly content because that's what trees
yes.
do.
I love the fact that you get that bit of knowledge that Fangorn is, or Treebeard is old. Now, this is, I think, actually revealed in the next chapter, if I remember how old he really is.
Yep.
Like,
yeah,
he's
Gandalf describes him.
Yeah.
As the oldest living Ent. Yeah.
But he sits there and he sings his songs, and the hobbits are just absolutely just drawn into this peaceful state with it, and you get a real good sense because he's so tall. I mean, his Ent strides are so much larger, and they can travel vast distances. So you can look at the map and sit there and think, man, they really went up into the woods to have this Entmoot. And just the whole chapter describes a good sense of the age of the world without really taking a whole lot of time to do it. There's a patience in the storytelling while at the same time saying, okay, we're going to have this meeting. Then you meet Quickbeam, and Quickbeam is hasty because he didn't quite get through good morning before he interrupted one of the elders, and it just the whole thing is just really well done. You get a good point of view, I think, too, is when they're introducing all the different trees that Pippin or Merry was expecting them to look all like Treebeard, and yet they were all very different until you sat back and actually took a look and like, oh no, you're all the same. It's almost like the world where we are all the same, and we may have differences in appearances in certain ways, but at the same time, we're still the same. And it's it's really a very deep chapter from what I read. I really enjoyed it.
One of my favorite things in literature, and it happens in this chapter, is when somebody says, "All right, boys, we're going to war," and then somebody says, "Are you kidding me? But we might die." And they go, "So, like, let's go fuck up Isengard. Like, what? We got this. Like, I don't care. Let's go.
Let's go hunt some wizard."
Right? Beat Saruman's ass.
For me, I feel like the song about the Ents and the Entwives, I thought was really, really fantastic. Again, I continue to be struck by, I don't remember which one of you brought this up, that like apparently people online talking about these books are like, you just skip all the poetry parts and just get to the good parts. And it's like,
yeah.
like,
that whole perspective from what I can tell is really popular in booktube, and which amazes me because you're supposed to be a bunch of readers and you're skipping parts of this book.
If you do that, you should be branded. Like, I should be able to walk down the street and see, oh, you're a dumbass, I shouldn't talk to you.
Right on the forehead. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Scarlet letter.
You take that uniform off, no one's going to know you're a Nazi. That don't sit well with us.
Yeah.
See?
Yep. Exactly. So I really like that.
They're film people, and they're just like, I want to see what inspired my favorite movie. So, because one of the key differences between reading it and going to see the movie is that the movie, it did its best, but it doesn't really include much of the poetry. So it's different medium. You're going to get different things out of it. So if you want an enhanced experience, focus on the songs and the poems.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Anyways, I really like how the hobbits
Vic,
inserted themselves.
You're muted, I think, Vic.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say quickly, I like how the hobbits suggested that when Treebird is going through all the different creatures, it's like, what? Just add a line for the hobbits. There you go. Update your poem.
Is this the chapter where we learn the old names for Lothlorien?
Yes. I believe so,
like it's Laurel, Lindo, Renan. That's the full.
Yep.
And the names used to be more sing-song like, and they were influenced by the Ent language.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's one of the best things the movie did, and it's a real quick throwaway line, is when Treebeard refers to Gandalf as young Master Gandalf.
Yeah.
But, that is the level of scale that we are talking about here. Like, damn.
He's only 1,000 years old.
Yeah, well, also, I mean, the way he talks about Celeborn is also like, oh yeah, that guy, yeah, he and I grew up together. Like when he was young and still exploring the world, we hung out for a while. We used to be pen pals. Then he stopped writing. I don't know, something's off in his head. I probably would have told you not to visit him either. The thing about adding the hobbits to the song, the add a new line, half-grown hobbits, the hole dwellers. It was like, all right, Pippin, just remember, you don't have Sam's gift. That's all I'm saying.
Doesn't even rhyme with anything.
It's okay, like sort of, but like, don't quit your day job. You know what I mean? Okay, I got a question for you guys. Other than Dane almost certainly knew this word before. Anyone else? Like, obviously, you could tell from context clues, what it meant.
Yep.
But I did have to go look this word up to confirm the meaning. Dingle.
Yes.
Used dingle a lot in this book, and I'm like, my only remembered use of dingle is dingleberry, and I don't think that's what he's talking about. I don't.
I almost feel like even he was proud of this one because he used it a bunch, and he used it a bunch,
so many times.
Yeah, like he used it in times that that wasn't necessary. Why did you do that? And I'm just convinced he was having fun with it too. Like,
yes, it was. It was excessive dingle. That's all I'm saying.
Don't be so suburban.
So what definition did you find out there, Pips?
Oh, it's a small wooded dell. He could have just called it a dell.
Yeah.
Not enough whimsy.
Yeah. Here you go. Here's the actual definition if I can find it. A small wooded dell or hollow, sometimes with a stream running through it.
Ooh.
Although, shoot, you know what? Okay, it says Middle English. So it's a Middle English word. Apparently it's maybe an Irish word as well. So, he just finished reading, The Green Man and decided to resurrect some old English. You'd expect nothing less from Tolkien, I guess.
No. Is there is there anything more loyal like than we met a new species today. Better write that down in the book. Like, can't drop the ball on this one. And think it's partially because I'm doing the audiobooks, and the two audiobook readers kind of sound the same. But the Treebeard voice sounds so much like Michael Kramer's Loyal voice. It's delightful. Highly recommended. I don't know. I could see Treebeard like, yeah, no, hey, Hobbit, get back here. We have to add you to my book.
So I got a quick question about this. So in the film, at least, they have the Entmoot. They take forever to say good morning, that it turns into night or whatnot. And then they decide not to do anything. And then Merry and Pippin decide to do something clever. And they, get Treebeard to take them closer to Isengard, where Treebeard finally then sees what has happened to the forest. Here it happens kind of the other way around. So like they got him talking about the subject of Saruman, and then he starts basically, cussing him out, curse him, root and branch. Many of those trees with my friends, creatures I had known from Nut and Acorn. And then they have the Entmoot, and then they pretty hastily, I think for me, because I mean they're already going to war.
Very hasty for Ents.
At the end of this chapter. So I don't know.
That quick beam guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I
quick beam shouted YOLO at one point, and
with that being said, I mean the Merry and Pippin and Treebeard parts of the film, like you get the advantage of having to or being able to do breaks, right? So that happens more towards the end, whereas I think this is the last Merry and Pippin chapter, because the rest of this basically focuses on, or at least Two Towers, book 3, focuses on Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas, right?
Is Flotsam and Jetsam?
But that's kind of post-war.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your point there? Do you think that comparing between the two, are you which one do you think works better? I guess are you?
Well, to me, at reading this, it's like Treebeard was already kind of gung ho to go to war before he had even kind of discussed it with any of the other Ents. There was no kind of revelation. And at least in the film, I give them credit where it's due. It seems like Merry and Pippin had more of a role to play in kind of shaping events than they do in the chapter, right?
Yeah.
There's
a good viewpoint of this that it plays into when Treebeard's talking about going to war. It's like, well, we may die, but it's what you've got to do, and that's consistent in the book with what his position was before the Entmoot, that we've got to go and fight. He's not brought to it just on an emotional thing where he then makes a hasty yell and everybody else then joins him to go and take down Isengard. It is a thought out position, something that I think the text kind of indicates he's been thinking about stuff like this for a while. And and they now have to make the decision that they don't want to have to make, but they just have to do it. And the movie sets it up to where Merry is all, it shows growth for him in the movie, where he's just like, you've got to do this. Great growth point for Merry in the movie, and then nice trickery by Pippin at the end. But it was. I forgot the order of events until I reread this, that I was like, oh, that's right. They were going regardless, and it was just a good thing that Merry and Pippin were there to give them just a little bit of news that kind of, starts everything off in its final, voyage point.
Yeah. I will say that I think that the way the movie did it is a lot more, like you said, it shows more character growth for the main characters, the two hobbits, versus, more kind of lore and world building growth for the Ents and those types of things. And so it was more action oriented, it was more active, and was probably a better, show up and wreck Isengard kind of scene, instead of them coming up to it, and it's like, oh, it's nighttime in Isengard, and like tomorrow we'll get him though, like it a little more. I think that it worked really well in the movie the way that they did it.
A little more
your priority as a director, right? Because Merry and Pippin are main characters. You've introduced them from the beginning. They meet this Treebeard character. You got to give them something to do. Was it necessarily Tolkien's priority? I don't think so. I think Tolkien had a lot of the world already built out before he had his characters drive through it. And this Treebeard chapter is definitely a vehicle for him to, indulge what he wanted to talk about. Like this is where he's able to do kind of his history, talk about Ents as a new species, give a lot of lore about the world, and describe a shit ton of trees.
Yep. Total wish fulfillment. Tolkien definitely wanted a whole bunch of trees to rise up and tear down the Jaguar factory in London. Like,
but part of the reason for that too, and that you bring up a good point. But there are two big plot points from Macbeth that I think, and it's mentioned. Tolkien thought that they were a disappointment. And one of them was, Macbeth would be king until like the trees of the forest rose up against him. And then it turned out the army showed up and they were just carrying branches. It was like, that's kind of lame, Shakespeare. Let me do it better. And there's another one, but I'm not going to bring that up until we get there.
Okay. Learn something new.
Right.
Hold my beer, Willie.
With that one.
Just think of the conceit, though. It's just like Shakespeare... I can do it better. That's Tolkien for you.
Hey, I mean, that's kind of like Babe Ruth sort of pointing to the stands, calling his shots. Like conceit for you or me was just the king being the king, I guess. The White Rider. So. The White Rider is the rejoining of one of the Fellowship members, obviously. So Gandalf has returned to us at the turning of the tide, right? So it's back with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. They're going through the battle site, looking for signs and sort of importance of their two hobbits hopefully surviving. They come across the Lorien, the leaf of Lorien with the lembas spread, sort of crumbs, and they figure out, okay, well they must have survived. They go off into the woods. They follow them off, and they get into Fangorn Forest, and in the process of looking for them, they come across an old man who they at first assume to be Sauron. But in fact turns out to be Gandalf. They do some some greetings. They exchange some tales. Find out what you've been up to and what we've been up to and all of this. And then they head out. They go to Edoras and they're going to do their stuff, right? I mean, some great stuff happens in this chapter in terms of what we learn about the wider world, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Gandalf is such a fucking troll.
Okay.
I think you're muted again. But yeah. He could have easily walked into the camp and just been like, "Sup, boys, I'm back." But nope, he had to like, all right, it's gonna be really funny. I'm gonna scare him. Just it'll be a good time. I could have had my white robes the entire time. Nope. My echoing.
Yeah.
Are we all?
I think we all are.
Yep. I think Vic. I don't know if it's you. Let's see. Yep. It seems like it might be audio on Vic's end. I don't know. He might have to switch to some headphones or something like that.
Okay.
Vic is like, oh, dang it.
Voices traveling around the world and coming back to us.
That is true.
Modern age
Echo.
Well, here's the thing. Isn't it revealed here that the old man that scared off the horses was actually Saruman?
Yes.
The echoes are still there.
Vic, are your headphones plugged in?
I think he probably just needs to reselect the audio hookup there and set it off of his speakers or whatever he's got going.
There you go. Sounds like it's fixed.
Yeah, there you go. Vic, is your mic still working? Let's get a sound check from you. I know you had something you wanted to say earlier.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Right.
Success.
Okay. Yeah, the movie did a good fake out because they modulated Gandalf's voice and to make it sound like it was Sauron when it was all white and then the reveal comes.
Yep. I like how in the book they're like, well, we're 90% sure that that's Saruman, but no, don't shoot him, Legolas. It would be super bad manners if we just happen to shoot an old guy. So we have to go talk to him first. And I'm just like, Aragorn, my guy, what are you talking about? Shoot his ass.
It was like, yeah, he could be a local fisherman out at night in eel-infested waters.
There's your traditional plug for The Princess Bride, folks.
It's the greatest movie of all time.
Kenobi, Princess Bride. We've done Skyrim. All right. It's okay. It's okay.
And I like the in this how we're reminded Gandalf was not he didn't die necessarily so bodily in terms of a way that like, the Valar sent him back in the book. He was recovered by Gwaihir, taken to Lothlorien, got an update for gave an update for Galadriel and Celeborn, and then was nursed back to health and then sent back. I thought that was just a fantastic little, hey, here's a Cliff Notes version of my travels with the Balrog, folks. And now I'm back to whip some more ass.
I like that he was like, I'm not going to tell you. And then,
he seemed to be having PTSD after facing the Balrog.
Yep. Is there what was it? The snarky eagle? When Gandalf was like, "Thanks for rescuing me. Can you take me to Galadriel
Don't drop me."
Yeah. The eagle's like, "Bitch, where do you think I'm taking you?" Like,
yeah.
Well, also,
like she told me to come get you.
Right?
Him saying like, "Oh, you're so light and feather-like. I bet I could drop you, and you just float and fly." And Gandalf's like, "Bitch, don't drop me." Fantastic.
I feel like we need to talk about the pros of Gandalf talking about his battle with the Balrog. Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ, way to lay it down, Tolkien. What a freaking excellent passage. Also, the knowledge that Gandalf won, the Balrog ran away, and Gandalf had to just chase it down. Like, what a fucking badass.
But wait, what about the true best part of this chapter is when Gandalf has a message from Galadriel to Aragorn, and then to Legolas, she also sent a message, and then Gimli's just like, she sent me no message?
He was sounding pretty simp in that part. Yeah, that was.
Awesome.
To Gimli, son of Gloin, she said, to give his ladies greetings, Lockbearer, wherever thou goest, my thought goes with thee, but have a care to lay thine axe to the right tree. And then he like dances a jig. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, Fuck yeah, I will. Whack. All right. I like that.
I'm looking for the line here where, I mean, obviously we have to talk about Shadowfax when we get there. I'm looking for the line where they're talking about how Gandalf, well, one part you kind of kept for yourself. You still sort of like speak in riddles, like, won't you talk openly to us? And he was like, I was just talking to myself because I usually try and talk to the smartest guy present. like, fantastic. Where the heck is that line? Dang it. I need to find it.
Yeah, he's like, what, in riddles? No, I was talking aloud to myself, a habit of the old. They choose the wisest person present to speak to. The long explanations needed by the young are wearying. He laughed, but sound now seemed warm and kind as a gleam of sunshine.
Yeah. And then Aragorn's like, I'm pretty old, and this is where Legolas is like, I'm like 3,600 years old, man. Like, what is
yeah, he's older than Gandalf.
All right, let's talk about that Shadowfax, though, right? Like, that's what everyone wants. The Chief of the Mirrors, Lord of Horses.
Never heard of him.
Vic, your sound is out of hand.
Vic, you've heard of it. Vic's heard of Shadowfax.
Hey, Vic, can you do me a favor? Can you drop out and then click the link to jump back in? That fixes 90% of my audio issues.
All right, we might have Vic drop out and rejoin, guys. He was doing mic on and off and stuff like that, and I think it was just latency and lag wasn't cutting it.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying Bella is not as good as Shadowfax? Yep, I would agree. Mainly just because Bella died. Bella got killed.
And Shadowfax,
which one of these?
The
yeah, which one of these two did not die like a punk to some arrows?
Pretty sure Bella got hacked to death by a bunch of Trollocs, but that whole thing about Bella being that's a fandom thing. Like, that's an internet fandom kind of.
It's a meme.
Not like Shadowfax. Shadowfax isn't a meme.
No, Shadowfax is just a badass.
Yep.
All right. I am hearing a bit of feedback as well, but I
think we're still getting the echo.
If we still want to yak about Shadowfax, I'm not sure we should indulge Pip's bad habits. But what I do like that was reiterated in this chapter is when it's kind of revealed that Frodo and Sam went on their own way, and that Aragorn went somewhere else. It's reiterated Sauron's eye is on Aragorn. Sauron's probably thinking, if Aragorn is with this party with the ring is with him. So, sorry, that the audio is really throwing me off here. I can't hear sorry. They're basically, it's adding now the fact that the Fellowship split up. This is providing more cover to Frodo. So it's being explained to the reader and everything else. It's a good thing that Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas did not go with Frodo, because you're basically taking all the attention. All the attention from Mordor is on you, Aragorn. It's on us over here. Sauron's not going to think we're going to try and slip in to Mordor with two hobbits to try and destroy the ring. If anything, he thinks you have the ring. You're going to go to Minas Tirith, you're going to rally the men, and you're going to be kind of like a new Isildur. So, yeah, thanks, Matt. But again, it's a little hint drop right now. It's a little bit missing in the film that, how important it is essentially for Sauron's attention to be on the heir of Elendil.
Also, though, the conversation about the fact that Saruman and Sauron being, not trusting each other and being sort of arrayed against each other now because of the uncertainty of the ring, and sort of the description of like the effect of kind of fog of war on the calculation between Saruman and Sauron, and like the things that they know, the things that they don't know, the things that they suspect, the things they fear. Was like a lot of exposition getting kind of dumped on you, but like pretty interesting. I think was done in a very good way. I think that Tolkien like knew that he had to establish some of the stuff, but he kind of also made a little bit of a joke about like how long he was going on about this stuff. Again, I'm looking for. I think he says a line basically about how long they've been sort of at it. Something about like we've taken about as much time as can be allowed for a reunion of friends or something like that. Do you guys know the line that I'm looking for? Anyone? No? Bueller?
No, I got nothing for you, man.
Here we go. Okay, I found it. So basically, Gandalf he gets up from. He's like, "Come, we've spent all the time that is allowed to a meeting of party friends. Now there is need for haste." So there's just this line where it's like, "Yeah, we've been talking for a while. Shit's still happening in the world. Why did you guys let me talk for so long? Let's go. We got stuff to do." You're like,
exposition over.
I like it.
Time
I
for
thought it was a
action.
funny line. Yeah. So I think
Are we done?
Towards the end.
Yeah.
Vic, if I know you've had some sound issues over there, so you've been trying to keep the mic off a little bit. Do you want to jump in here and tell us kind of this chapter, this section, like, do you think we missed anything?
No, not really. I think you've covered all of it.
It's just okay. We covered all. I don't know about that. We didn't talk nearly enough about Shadowfax.
Shadowfax's true moment to shine is coming up, right? It's when he rides to Minas Tirith. So and there's battles there too. So it's like let's not oversell Shadowfax right away. We all love Shadowfax. Just
fair.
It's not the main character.
Fine. That's your opinion. This whole story would have been done already if they just put the Hobbit with the ring on Shadowfax,
right straight to Mount Doom.
Right to Mount Doom.
Be there in half a day. Exactly.
I also love that Shadowfax was such a fucking badass that Gandalf picking Shadowfax caused a major multinational incident. Like, Theoden is pissed. I mean,
also, Shadowfax returns, but won't let anyone else ride him, right?
Yep.
Right.
Completely fucked up my horse.
Like, I mean, he even mentions, like, in the previous chapter, if you're gonna go see Theoden, don't mention Gandalf. I know you hang out with him because Theoden hates that guy.
Yeah.
It's persona non grata.
The perfect comparison here is, so my daughter just got her driver's license last weekend, and so she's driven around a few times, and the minute that I go get in the car for the first damn time, and she hasn't readjusted the seats back to where they should,
it's all the way up
for someone. Oh my goodness! My knees about popped out of joint trying to get into my car, and I'm sitting there thinking,
wife does that to me all the time.
You've screwed up my horse.
Wrecked my steed.
Just got to get one of those cars with the presets. The presets on the. No? Okay.
I thought we did talk about
you know,
this because the Uruk-hai were making fun of the other orcs.
Yeah, and the Legolas shot out the fell beast in the previous section of Fellowship, right?
Well,
and
I think Gadfly might have been indicating that Gandalf talks about it as well, and is like, "No, you didn't kill that thing. That thing can't be killed. You just killed its mount." And so it was alluded to by the Uruk-hai conversation, but the fact that it was a Nazgul, and now the 9 are patrolling the skies. They haven't been allowed to cross the river yet, but like they're over there doing stuff. So
man, life expectancy for a Nazgul mount has got to be for a Ringwraith mount is short.
Yeah.
Said it before, say it again. Any meme that you see about why didn't they just fly on eagles to Mount Doom? It's, well, Tolkien took care of it. Skies are being patrolled. Nazgul are in the air. So,
yes.
There we go.
All right.
No, guys.
I think. I think Vic messaged us. He was having too many issues on his end, and had to duck out. I think to try and fix his stuff. Unfortunate. I was just gonna kind of sign off the stream here as we get towards the end by having him say his piece and then close it out. But I think he said that we kind of covered everything that we could cover without going through and just reading it. Maybe we'll do that next time, guys. It'll be the most efficient way to go through. We'll just do a reading.
Well, shit, man, this section was short. Like the audiobook portion of the section was only like 4 hours, and we're at an hour and a half. Like, we're not far off.
What's crazy though is that at least in my copy of the book here, I'm gonna try and find. Here we go. So this over here is book 3 versus book 4. So 200 pages, 205 pages is the end of book 3, and the end of the book is only 350. So
yeah, I think the division's well, but yeah, it is going to go a little bit quicker, I think. But the next section I'm really excited about because Helm's Deep is coming up, which
yes,
is one of my favorite parts of the whole story. So especially
a lot of.
We'll save it for when we get there, but I am stoked for the next one in 2 weeks.
Yep. So that will be in 2 weeks. A lot of good stuff in that section. We're going to have, I believe, Gadfly Fiction actually is going to be our guest on the next section.
I missed him the last time.
And that's true. He was on the week that you couldn't be here. So he's a real excellent guest. Vic is here in the chat. So thanks again, Vic, for being on with us. Always fun to have you on. We appreciate the heck out of you even making time for the stream, given that you're on like a 17-hour time difference or something like that, I think.
Seriously, dude.
So
but before too long, he's only going to be on a 5-hour time difference.
Oh, that's he's moving, right?
Curvature
he's
of the
going to the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant the other way.
In the chat. But yeah, so other than showing off, and you guys can tell me what you think. I have no idea what is on the cover of my book. This over here looks like a cartoon Batman. So the old school cover is confusing me, but the book is fantastic. I recommend you guys read it if you're not. It's not quite as fancy as some of you guys' kind of things.
It's like
there you go.
Andy
Dane,
Warhol
we didn't
acid
get good book
type
porn
shit.
for Dane here. Let's end on the good book porn.
All right. Well, just give me a second here. I think there's a really nice picture of Fangorn in here. Let me see if I can find it. It's towards the end of the Treebeard chapter.
He's moving to the UK for start of the semester. So good luck on your move. Thanks again for making time. Is always a pleasure to have you on.
So no, it's the end of the
Vic is awesome. We've had Vic in various chats for years, or not years, months, or a year, whatever. and he's always awesome to
That's a nice
read in the
picture.
chats and now on lives.
Yeah. Alex, Dane, we will be on 2 Saturdays from now. So same time, 2 Saturdays from now. And I think we talked about it briefly in the Discord. We're not going to do the first half of the Two Towers movie. We're just going to watch the whole thing as a watch party on the Discord when we get to the end of the book, because the way the book versus the movie splits up the sections and the POVs, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So look forward to that in a few weeks as well. But yeah, moving right along the Two Towers. I've been really enjoying it so far. Alex, you got your parent video that you're gonna make?
I do. I do.
I have to mention it.
Expect to see the final draft tonight for a revision watch.
Finally.
Perfect. And Nate, you know what's coming as well. What's the status on the Eye of the World script? What is the
outline? You mean? Yes. Alex
outline,
is much further with his project than I am with mine. Just got a lot of things in the old hopper, so it is still the intent to get that all put together, but life.
How are the ribs, by the way?
So, yeah.
The ribs right now are sitting in the smoker, wrapped up in some peach paper, and as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna take them out for the last hour of smoking and drenching with barbecue sauce and just getting a nice crisp to them.
I'll enjoy the ribs.
Nice.
Enjoy the whiskey tonight.
Yeah, jealous.
Yeah, I got nothing going on, but everybody have a happy Easter next week. So be a good break.
Yes,
No Lord of the Rings stream. So everybody, good Easter egg hunts and have some good time with the family. So
yeah, that's the perfect ending. Dane said it. Walk in the light, everybody.
Peace.